Hello, my name is Mario Hernandez, and today we're going to talk about price discrimination. Is it always a bad thing? Let's find out. Price discrimination is selling the same product to different customers at different prices. Different people within the same market have different demand curves, therefore, charging them the same price would be counterintuitive. This is due to demand elasticity. People with relatively inelastic demand can be charged more because their demand will not be affected by price. Let's take a look at an example. I've split a market up into two groups. Group 1 has relatively inelastic demand, while Group 2 has relatively elastic demand. If we try charging these two markets the exact same price, you can see that Group 2 would hardly make a profit, and most of the money would be coming from Group 1. Now, if we were to treat these groups individually and figure out each of their prices with marginal cost and marginal revenue in conjunction to their specific demand curve, we can see that both output and profit would increase. To compare this to a real-world example, let's pretend this is a hotel market. Group 1 would most likely be customers that walk in on the day that they're going to use the room, while Group 2 would be the people that call 2 weeks ahead to reserve the room and save some money. So as you can see, the main reason why people use price discrimination is because it makes their profit greater. Now let's talk about a few price discrimination strategies that businesses typically use. Perfect price discrimination would be the ideal form of price discrimination to use. This is where each customer is charged his or her maximum willingness to pay. Unfortunately, this is a fairly unrealistic model in the real world, as it would be impossible to collect enough data to pinpoint every single person's maximum willingness to pay. However, if this system was implemented into use, it would mean no surplus for the customer and all the gains for the business. This is not necessarily a bad thing, as the increased output would increase surplus and therefore lowering deadweight loss to society. Another form of price discrimination is called tying. This is where you're being sold a packaged good. For instance, Xbox and video games go hand in hand because you need both. The Xbox would be what is called the base good, while the video games are what's called the variable good. Here you show your willingness to pay by how much of the variable good you buy. For instance, if individual 1 only buys 2 video games a year, while individual 2 buys 12, the price discrimination is imminent in that individual 2 paid a lot more money than individual 1 did. It's worth mentioning that due to systems like these that technology is made more affordable. They can lower the price on the base good because they know that you will come back to buy many variable goods later. The next form of price discrimination is bundling. This requires customers to buy items in a group or a package, since it is easier to track the demand for a package as opposed to an individual object. Take a soft drink, for instance. If one can is 50 cents, but the 12-pack is $4, then it is a no-brainer to just go with the 12-pack. In essence, the company is increasing their revenue and their output because more drinks are being sold because they are bundled this way. So this begs the question, are there any negative aspects to price discrimination? Absolutely. Arbitrage is a form of exploiting the system. Since there are price differences in different markets, you buy low in one market and sell at a higher price in a different market. A good example of this would be scalping tickets. You buy earlier for a cheaper price and you sell them last minute to desperate people who are willing to pay a much higher price. This leaves firms responsible for coming up with systems to discourage arbitration. A good example that the book gives is the poisoning of ethanol to prevent it from being converted into consumable alcohol. In summary, price discrimination is not always a bad thing. It will increase output, therefore surplus, and increasing surplus reduces the amount of deadweight loss to society. Additionally, it will more conveniently supply consumers with goods via bundling. Technology will also be more readily available due to systems like tying. Although it has its inherent problems with arbitrage, overall, price discrimination has more of a positive effect on the economy than a negative one. I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and thank you for watching.